cocktail, pick up, and hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Gilmore Way Podcast. I'm Kate.
And I'm Laura. And this week we are continuing on with our exploration about how Taylor Swift's lyrics tie into Rory's trajectory in life, and specifically with the men in her life. Go back and check out part 1 where we covered her early years growing up and her years at Chilton with Dean and Jess, all the way into her early college years and those explorations. This week we're going to focus on bringing Logan into the picture and how he ties it. Yeah, don't look too happy. I will take any excuse I can to tear that man apart. Team Jess all the way. But this week we are going to be focusing on Logan, those middle to late Yale years, her post-Yale years, Logan coming back into the picture, all of those other men that come and go, and just, again, how they tie into how Taylor's lyrics kind of mirror Rory's trajectory. So we're here for that. We hope that you will continue to love this particular take. Go back and watch part 1 if you haven't already.
And go back and watch our Lorelai episodes as well. We did 2 episodes on a similar conceit for Lorelai. But, I would be down for a year of Logan. Maybe we could finally get you on board and make you see the light that Jess is not the one for her. But that's not the...
Look into my eyes.
This is not the time or place for a debate about this. We've had a debate, and I have more to say on it, but that is for a future episode. In the meanwhile, we're here to do Taylor Swift stuff. But before we get started, make sure you hit the like button. It takes like 2 seconds, if that, and it's fast and it's free, and it really helps us out. Drop us comments down below if you agree, disagree, have hot takes, songs we missed, songs you think we should cut from this. We want to hear your thoughts as well. Also, just spoiler alert, like flashing red light spoilers for the later seasons of Gilmore Girls, possibly even the earlier seasons. We're focusing on the later seasons, but you never know when other stuff will creep in. We are a Spoilers All podcast. You've known that forever unless you're new here. But if you're new here, thanks. Hi. We're super organized at the beginning of this episode. You may hear cat noises. Sorry, not sorry. Her roommate's a cat, okay? Like, we love him and he lives here, okay? And last but not least, there will be some spicy language in this one because there's at least one song I can think of that has a particularly memorable swear word that is integral to our analysis of Rory. I think you can maybe guess what it is, but I'm not going to spoil it. At least not that part. We will get there. So that's our opening spiel. There's more like opening spiel in the first part of this. So if you haven't watched that, check that out. But right now we're going to jump right into part 2 because there's no time to waste. We have a lot of songs to cover. So tell us what your first song is.
Yep. So again, Kate went a bit chronologically with her song choices. I didn't necessarily, but we're still going to talk about them in the order that I have. She'll do her inserts if she feels like I have missed some things and vice versa. But this is why this is a 2-person podcast. So again, here we go. My first one for part 2, as we're getting into talking about Logan, is New Romantics.
Fair enough. That's very close to my first one. I had one before this, but let's talk about New Romantics then.
Yep. Rory has had her time with Dean. She has had her time with Jess. Other passing flings, interests, some hits, some misses. But she seems to have really struck a significant chord with Logan in terms of how they immediately start to just bounce off of each other like firecrackers, I think, in terms of the connection. And one of the lyrics that sticks out to me is, "We're so young, but we're on the road to ruin. However, that being said, come with me. Where some of the best people in life are free." And I think it really speaks to especially Logan's lifestyle, because even though, Mitchum is the controlling patriarchal father figure of the Huntsberger clan, Logan has always been pretty much, I think, a do what he sort of wants kind of guy. He is living more of that free, wild, young, and free lifestyle. I think Rory sees that on top of just Logan and, Matt being just a, super hot smoking human being. But I think she's just attracted to what she sees within him in terms of that lifestyle after she gets over the initial, you seem a little bit too privileged for me sort of mindset. But the sparks are there for them. And so I think that's really apparent from the get-go. And it's nice to see how they start involving each other in their lives as that romantic couple. I could have done without the classroom embarrassment scene. If I was Rory, I'd probably be mortified for the rest of my life and have a serious conversation about that. But they're cute nonetheless. And I like how this starts to play out.
Honey, life is just a classroom. Yeah, I love this song. It should have made the standard edition, I think, of 1989. But that's neither here nor there. Obviously, there's another great line in here that really makes me think of Rory and Logan, and that's, it's poker. He can't see it in my face, but I'm about to play my ace.
That was my next one, but okay, yeah.
Yeah. We need love, but all we want is danger. Yeah. Obviously, the ace reference had to be brought up. And yeah, poker is a game. They don't really play together, but she's there when he plays with his friends within a couple episodes' time. I have another song that sort of goes along with that episode as well, but this fits. Poker is a game of deception and strategy, and that very much speaks to Rory's early attempts with Logan, because she can't show her hand too much, or at least she feels like she can't, because of his status and his way with women. So the song very much feels like just those early carefree days of season 5 with, the life and death brigade stuff and all of his friends just being sort of young and stupid.
Yeah. And I think we see it with them too. And I'm going to call again on a lyric from the song. Every night with us is like a dream. Mm. And I think it's typical within most relationships. When you start out, you're going to be in that like blissful haze bubble where everything is new. It's just the newlywed stage to any relationship that I think most people go through, where just you're enamored with this person. Everything just seems like, again, fireworks, goo goo for gaga, like whatever it is you want to refer to it as. But I think they were just a breath of fresh air to one another, where, especially I think for Logan, even if he didn't want to admit it, Rory was high society. I mean, like privileged and for upper class in the same way that he was, but not like his sister, and not like, I think, the typical women that perhaps even his father would be trying to set him up with to perpetuate the Huntsberger name. And I think that even like, surnames aside, I just think that the compatibility with them was electric. And I think they felt it with one another. I will still always stand in the camp that I don't feel like Logan was ever the right guy for Rory. You have yet to convince me. But that's where I'm at.
Oh, I will convince you.
We'll see.
I think my last note on this song is, we show off our different Scarlet Letters. Trust me, mine is better. And obviously, Scarlet Letter is a reference to the novel of that name by Nathaniel Hawthorne, in which Hester Prynne is like publicly shamed and made to wear a literal Scarlet A for committing adultery and giving birth to an illegitimate child. Just saying.
Fun times in colonial America. But that's not the topic.
It's like colonial Williamsburg with fewer tricorn hats.
My next song that I had for this particular list is Wildest Dreams.
Ooh, see, that skips ahead for me a little bit. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just throw in the one I had before this real quick, because I don't have much to say about it anyway. But on my list, I also had Enchanted. It just kind of made me think of those early days with them, where Rory is just really entranced by him a little bit. She's unsure. She doesn't like him at first, but then there's this sort of like tension there, and it's the playful conversation starts, counter all your quick remarks, like passing notes in secrecy, kind of like they're AIMing each other at the Yale Daily News. And it was enchanting to meet you. I'm wonderstruck, blushing all the way home. This is me praying that this is not, or this is me praying that this was the very first page, not where our storyline ends. Please don't be in love with someone else. Please don't have somebody waiting on you. This night is sparkling. Don't you let it go. I'm wonderstruck, blushing all the way home. It just feels so like there's an electricity to it that reminds me of the tension that runs between Rory and Logan in the early episodes. And the song was written about someone she met for one night and never saw again. And she sort of ideated about this guy so much that she wrote this whole beautiful song about it. And obviously we see that Rory and Logan do see each other again and ultimately have a long relationship. But there's just something about the sparkles of this song that make me think of them.
Yeah, I had Enchanted on my list, but obviously I think this will surprise you. I put it at the tail end of my list in terms of relating it more into revival material. So we'll get there.
Yeah, you'll have to give me your revival take on it when we get there. But that was my like early season 5 take, so it still kind of makes sense for me to throw that at the front. And then, did you also have Sparks Fly on your list?
I did not. I had removed that. Fair
enough. I'll throw in my quick 2 cents on this because once again, it just has that sort of glitz for me that about them. The way you move is like a full-on rainstorm and I'm a house of cards. Like he can just take her like along with him in the winds, you know? You're the kind of reckless that should send me running, but I kind of know that I won't get far. My mind forgets to remind me you're a bad idea. You touch me once and it's really something. You find I'm even better than you imagined I would be. Kind of makes me think of Come Home and the Wedding Bell Blues episodes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there are definitely sparks. Like, as much as I, again, am not Team Logan, I can still acknowledge the sparks within the relationship. I know they were definitely there. I just don't always think that sparks, correlate to Endgame. Nor should they necessarily.
I'm not saying they do, but I do love that song, and I had to throw it in. So,
yeah.
All right, Wildest Dreams. That's an interesting one. Is this for like You Jump, I Jump?
Yes. Because I think just what Rory is experiencing and seeing with Logan is just a different side to life than I think she's ever known. Like Emily and Richard Gilmore, God bless them, are wonderful grandparents, but very tight-fisted. I think very close-minded in terms of what's proper, what's not. It's all about how you look to society and what is deemed appropriate behavior. And Logan bucks at that for himself. But he also just encourages Rory to, run on the wild side a little bit, like see what life can present to you, what's out there. Again, I'm not saying that, we're going to go rob a bank, although, who knows, we're stealing boats. So I don't know what we can put beneath these people, but he's very just adventurous. And the lyrics speak to me in like, he's so bad, but he does it so well. Let's just get out of this town, drive out of the city, away from the crowds, and then commit felonies.
Yeah. Say you'll remember me standing in a nice dress, too. Like that blue dress that he picks out for her. Man, does that guy have taste.
Yeah. And I think she's just really appreciating, too, the fact that her eyes are being opened to a sort of livelihood that I don't even think she's had with Lorelai. Even with her mom being as outgoing and as spontaneous as she is, I think Logan, and perhaps even because he's a romantic partner, is just bringing something new to the table that she's never experienced. And I think Rory does gravitate to, again, adventure and being presented with new opportunities and just not falling into the same old patterns of what Richard and Emily expect for her or what she maybe even expects from herself. But I think she does like living on the wild side a little bit. And I think she's gravitating towards having those opportunities.
Yeah. I put this one a little bit later into season 5, but I can see how it also correlates to You Jump, I Jump. And the reason, or like the thing that reminds me of the later seasons a little bit, I think it's Jews and Chinese food specifically, when they sleep together for the first time. No one has to know what we do. His hands are in my hair, his clothes are in my room, and his voice is a familiar sound. Nothing lasts forever, but this is getting good now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very like sexy vibes to this song and it feels like it has so much like intensity to it, and the intensity really ratchets up later in the season as their relationship progresses as well. So like I could see it going in both places. I probably had it at the You Jump I Jump phase initially and then moved it back because I was like, I don't know about that, but yeah. But obviously the song has to be on both lists for Lorelai and Rory because this is possibly my favorite Taylor Swift song. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it is like way up there. It is very much in contention for number one. So, love this one.
Yeah. Anything else about Wildest Dreams?
I don't think so.
All right. My next one, again, I feel like I was following a similar pattern that I did within part one, where I love talking about like the highlights to the relationship that Rory has with Dean and Jess and with Logan. But these relationships, I feel like when they devolve, they so quickly devolve. It's not even like a slow burn. It's just like, nope, catastrophe is happening pretty quickly. So the next one that I wanted to talk about as we start to get to that area of things where not all is gravy with Logan all of the time is Foolish One.
Yeah, that was my next one too. This very much has Say Something vibes.
Yeah, for me, it was just about Rory starting to realize that as much as she admires Logan's lifestyle, he's not exclusive right off the bat, because that's not ever the sort of relationships that he's had with previous women in his life. And so we have this great line, you've already got plans. I guess I'll just talk myself to sleep again. Just enough attention. You bring me just enough attention to keep my hopes too high. I don't know what to call this situation, but I know I can't call you mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so Rory's reckoning with the fact that Logan does have other partners that he is willing to sleep around and not necessarily be exclusive. And Rory has to contend with, am I okay with that? Do I want this sort of more open relationship, or do I want to ask for exclusivity and see if Logan is willing to offer me that? And if he is, then great. If not, then I guess I have a decision to make about what sort of partnership I want with him. And so I think it is just very much speaks to what she's realizing about the type of person that he is, how he has broached his former partnerships and those relationships, and whether or not she's going to ask him to change that for her.
Mm-hmm. Wishful thoughts forget to mention when something's really not right, and I will block out these voices of reason in my head, and the voices say, you're not the exception, you will never learn your lesson, foolish one. And it's delicate, but I will do my best to seem bulletproof. Now I'm sliding down the wall with my head in my hands, saying, how could I not see the signs? It's exactly what you said, where it's like, you're not just going to change Logan Huntsberger's entire modus operandi, like, right away. He does have all these girls waiting in the wings. I mean, ultimately she does become the exception because she's Rory Gilmore, and she's some sort of mythical creature who just happens to make every guy fall for her. But she does have to go through this phase first where she realizes that she's not exclusive with someone for the first time ever. And it's very much a transition that is uncomfortable to her. And this song really encapsulates that feeling of, I'm with someone, but they're not only with me. And like, I'm waiting in the wings, but I want to be on stage. I want to be the only one. And I've said that I'm okay with this setup. I've said that I just want something casual, something no strings, but it's not very comfortable for me. This is out of my comfort zone. So that's definitely why this song made the list. And of course, the reason I say it reminds me of Say Something is because the first lines are, my cards are on the table, yours are in your hand. Chances are tonight you've already got plans, which is very much what happens when she calls him and he's like, yeah, come on over, let's hang. And they're all playing poker, which again goes back to the poker face, about to play my ace. The strategy, the game. She has to go to the Branford Serial Girls to be like, what do I do? Like, how do I play this? It's very awkward. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Give me some feedback. And she ends up there on poker night with his buddies. And it's all very uncomfortable. And it's just sort of a rude awakening for her that being with him is maybe going to be a little bit different than she thought.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's just, again, is a really eye-opening situation for her in terms of what she's going to ask for him and what he's going to be willing to give. So that was fun. My next song, I know, jumps ahead quite a bit on your personal list. And a little bird told me that you may have some serious hot takes and or comments about Cruel Summer when I completely nixed it. So if
it's
you'd
me,
like
the bird. Hi, I'm the bird. It's me.
go off, bird.
Well, I have one more even before that, but it's just like a quick mention. I put Delicate on my list as well because it, again, very much has the vibes of like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't want to like show my cards too soon. And the lines, is it cool that I said all that? Is it chill that you're in my head? Because I know that it's delicate. Is it too soon to do this yet? Because I know that it's delicate, isn't it? Handsome, you're a mansion with a view. Do the girls back home touch you like I do? It's just that whole idea of like a friends with benefits situation, and you don't want to show too much vulnerability or too much what's the word I'm looking for? Too much investment in this. Because if it's not met, then it gets awkward. But that leads me into Cruel Summer, because that's basically entirely what this song is about. Cruel is the opposite of chill. Like, this situation is not chill. They're very much a friends with benefits situation that is more serious to Rory than it is for Logan. And obviously this doesn't take place in summer, but there's a lot of sentiments in the song that I think track with what Rory is going through. Like, fever dream high in the quiet of the night, you know that I caught it. Fever dreams happen when you're sick. Like, a fever is basically when, like, there's inflammation in your body. Your body is trying to fight off a pathogen of some sort. It's a response to an infection. So it's like there's something foreign going on, and it's making you not well. And a fever elevates your body temperature. You're hot and bothered. There's like a heat to this that we feel with Rory and Logan. The main character doesn't want to fall in love. Rory doesn't want to go down that pathway. It's supposed to be cool, but she's hot and bothered. She's feeling unwell. She's feeling emotionally sick. And it's manifesting physically. Fever dream high, you know, it's an altered state of consciousness. You know, she's not really like with it. There's something very different going on. She's like under the influence of him a little bit, which kind of, you know, tracks with his devil may care attitude. She's really happy to be with him, but it's a lot of highs and lows. So fever dream high, like the word high is interesting in the song because there's a lot of like lows in the song. And it's interesting. She even does that with the modulation of her voice. Like it's so hard to follow her pattern of singing. But yeah, she's fighting this whole situation, and like she's flooded with these like hormones of having a crush and having a new guy, you know? It's very like intense for her. And he's a bad boy, a shiny toy with a price. He's new. He is attractive. He is flashy. But toys are objects to be played with. Like, they're things that you can own. You can buy and sell them. You can trade them out. They're impermanent objects. And, you know, we see more of that sort of theme coming through in My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys on the Tortured Poets department. Just this idea that people can be something you play with a little bit. It's like a distancing thing. Like, you don't want to get too close, and so you have to refer to them as your new toy, right? Killing me slow, out the window. I'm always waiting for you to be waiting below. It's like she's always waiting on him to come to her. Like, she's waiting for him to be waiting for her. And that's not good. you know, she's waiting for his call, but he's off skiing with his buddies or whatever, you know. Killing me slow could be like, ooh, you're killing me with anticipation, or it could be like, you're injuring me and this could take me down, you know. Killing someone is an act. You can die without being killed. So there's a volitional aspect to being killed, which means like the other person knows what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose.
That's dark.
Yeah. Like, and Logan does know he's doing it on purpose, but he's also very open about it. Like, he knows the effect he can have on people, and at least he's aware of it and sort of like warns her ahead of time, but it still impacts her a lot where it's like, oh, this actually is killing me more than I thought. Devils roll the dice, angels roll their eyes. What doesn't kill me makes me want you more. It's a gamble. You're making a deal with the devil. You know, you might lose your soul in the process. It's a risky little game. But, you know.
Well, you know, love is a ruthless game.
Yeah. Unless you play it good and right. Yeah. And, you know, Satan is obviously a powerful figure in religion. And that sort of speaks to the power dynamic at play. Logan is kind of the one with the control in the situation because he's the one calling the shots. It could put her through hell, you know? But
I think he kind of does sometimes.
Not for too long, though. And like I said, she knew what she was getting into. She's a grown-up with, well, sort of, with autonomy to make her own decisions. And she knew what she was getting into with him. But on to the chorus. No rules in breakable heaven. That, like, really made me think of them, where it's like, this is no commitment, nothing serious, fun and games. But it's a delicate state of fun that can crumble in a moment. And it very briefly does until Logan decides to commit. But you say that we'll just screw it up in these trying times. We're not trying. Like, Logan is like, I can't be a boyfriend at first. He ultimately changes his mind, obviously. But it's like him saying, we'll just screw it up. And it leads them not to try. But eventually they do. And so they overcome this part. But I thought that line kind of reminded me of them. Let's see, what else have I got on this one? Ooh, I made a note. I would have stayed on my knees and I never would have danced with the devil. Memories feel like weapons. Little woulda, coulda, shoulda in there. I don't think Rory feels that way. That song is obviously a very specific circumstance, but the devils roll the dice made me think of it. I'm drunk in the back of the car and I cried like a baby coming home from the bar. It's more like coming home from the opening of the Stars Hollow Museum because she had too much Founders Day punch, but you know, same. Said I'm fine, but it wasn't true. I don't want to keep secrets just to keep you. And I snuck in through the garden gate every night that summer just to seal my fate. And I screamed for whatever it's worth. I love you. Ain't that the worst thing you ever heard? He looks up grinning like a devil. You know, crying like a baby to me is like an acknowledgement that it's petulant and immature for her to be doing this. That it speaks to her attachment issues because, you know, babies is where you form attachments. The garden gate makes me think of like the Garden of Eden. Like, especially with all the devils and angels imagery as well. It's like you sneak into the garden and like, who lives in the Garden of Eden? The snake. Big reputation. And so it's like there's a boy who's being compared to the devil who is the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. Hello.
I am loving that take.
Yeah. Every night that summer just to seal my fate. Like, she's so into the idea of fate and like the golden string or invisible string. Just like things being out of your hands. And sometimes I get those vibes with Rory and Logan as well because of the whole written in the stars situation. But Yeah, grinning like a devil. He's mischievous, you know. I get the mischief vibes. It's an ego boost. He likes it. But he's the one who
maybe a little bit too much, I think sometimes.
Maybe.
Fatal flaw.
Yeah. He's the one who kind of determines how the dice land. So, yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I have for Cruel Summer.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see the parallels. I think it was just, it didn't strike me as much as having as strong connections to Rory and Logan as some of the other songs did.
Yeah, it's not like as direct, but it's because it's very explicitly about a friends with benefits situation where the narrator of the song is like sick over this, like is very much ruminating on it and has very intense reactions to the way the guy is behaving. It very much makes me think of Rory and how attached she gets to Logan very early on and how quickly she goes from it's cool, no rules, breakable heaven, to I'm drunk in the back of the car and I'm crying like a baby. Like, it reminded me of her a little bit, so I had to throw it in there. And it's like absolutely one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs. Top 5, easy. It is my current alarm song. So
one of these days, I'm going to make you pick a favorite. I will force you to.
Oy vey. That'll be a tough day.
Yeah. We'll get through it, though. It's going to be okay.
Yeah. I know.
Yep. My next song, and I think this still maybe jumps ahead a little bit for you, but it's what I had next on my list, was Champagne Problems.
That's way too far ahead for me because that's like end of season 7 vibes. We're not there yet, but
well, I had a very brief, like, and this was one of my briefer entries as well. I will say,
what? There's so much to this song.
I mean, what struck for me about it was just you told your family for a reason, but no one's celebrating, and it just made me think of like the entirety of Rory and Logan's relationship, where like Mitchum and Shira, but specifically Mitchum, were always so disapproving. There was always that underlying tone of like, you're not going to live up to the Huntsberger name. Emily gets bent out of shape about it. I think like rightly so, because it shouldn't just be about surnames. I think she calls out, Shira correctly when she says those kids are going to stay together for as long as they want to, don't interfere. But I think the mindset of just, you're never going to live up to what I want for my son or to the family surname, this, that, and the other thing. No one is celebrating that union, but they're celebrating Honor and Josh's because he's worthy. And so that to me, I think spoke about, again, just the entirety of their relationship from start to finish. But I think it was also just indicative of how at the end of the day, when things don't work out between them, spoilers, there's that great line, I was never ready, so I just watch you go.
I have so much more on that one, but I will save it for when we get to the end of season 7 because it's just like we're skipping over so much by doing that.
Well, those are my brief thoughts on it. I'll let you circle back on it more because, again, this is why we have different lists.
Exactly. But so many thoughts. My next one was Gold Rush because it feels like a natural follow-on to the breaking down on the bathroom floor and having like a hexagonal tile shape on her face, crying after, after the museum opens and she's like, why doesn't he like me? Because it's very much a song about, I don't want to be one of the many anymore. So I'm pretty sure Gold Rush was on your list, but where does it fall on your list?
It actually was not.
Oh, it wasn't?
No.
Oh, man. Okay, well then maybe I'll just hop into this one real quick. Because like I said, it's sort of that end of season 5 vibe for me. Gleaming, twinkling, eyes like sinking ships, on water so inviting I almost jump in. You jump, I jump. I can totally see Logan's eyes twinkling. You can't quote a twinkle, but you can describe it. I don't like a gold rush. I don't like anticipating my face in a red flush. I don't like that anyone would die to feel your touch. Everybody wants you. Everybody wonders what it would be like to love you. Walk past, quick brush. I don't like slow motion, double vision in rose blush. I don't like that falling feels like flying till the bone crush. Everybody wants you, but I don't like a gold rush. And so it's like, once again, her just being obsessed with the fact that she doesn't like this. She's anticipating her face in a red flush. That's like embarrassment. That's like the heat of shame. It's the opposite of a poker face. Everybody wants Logan Huntsberger. There's a line to get to him. She doesn't want to be one of the many anymore, but she's feeling conflicted about it. And she's having a good time. The falling feels like flying, but she's, down bad crying on the floor of the bathroom now. And she doesn't like that there's a line, that there's a bunch of opportunists who want Logan because of what they can provide to them. What must it be like to grow up that beautiful with your hair falling into place like dominoes? Hide the Kiehl's products. Just, how attractive he is and how that's a big part of why everybody wants him. At dinner parties, I call you out on your contrarian shit, which makes me think of But I'm a Gilmore. Or sorry, no, Crowpox to Cape Cod. And maybe a little bit of But I'm a Gilmore as well. But the lighter scene, just sort of like, Logan. Yeah. Anything else on this one? Yeah. She almost jumps in. But she can't quite fully commit to this lifestyle. And then the other interesting part of this is the element of gold. Gold is a color that Taylor uses a lot in her songs to illustrate things of value, obviously. Gold is the gold rush was a historical time where people sought opportunity in the American West. They sought wealth and riches and adventure, frankly. It was the new frontier, and gold is something of value that everybody wants to hunt down. But, Rory doesn't want to be, on the frontier of something new. She just wants something comfortable and safe. And so the fact that, Logan is this sort of untamed, wild opportunity once held an attraction to her, but now it's a gold rush. Everybody's in such a hurry. Everybody wants something, and she just wants out.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, again, I feel like I'm drawing so many stronger parallels from other songs that I still have yet to get to. So I feel like I'll go off more on those when I get to them.
Yeah. My list is longer than yours. I'm just like, I'm not going to edit myself. The longer the Taylor Swift playlist, the better. And so I'm like, make all the connections. I don't care.
I mean, I'm not saying that T-Swiss should ever be diminished. I get it. I had different thoughts, I think, on different songs. But again, that's why we do this. So.
Yeah. What was your next song?
My next one is a quick, again, little insert. How You Get the Girl.
Okay.
And this one just starts off, you stand there like a ghost, shaking come the rain. She'll open up the door and say, are you insane? Say it's been a long 6 months. Say it's been a long 6 months and you were too afraid to tell her what you want. But that's how it works. That's how you get the girl. And to me, I think not just from Logan's perspective, because again, I feel like Rory needed to do better within this relationship as well, but there needed to be better communication in terms of what you're expecting Logan to give to you. We've said it already in terms of the exclusivity, but also just what you want from him. Rory needed, I think, to just grab the bull by the horns a little bit stronger than she did and say, it makes me uncomfortable when you go out on dates with other women. It makes me uncomfortable when you sleep with other women. I don't want that. I understand the path that you've taken with your previous girlfriends and partners. I want something different within this relationship. And I think Logan was very good at being receptive to hearing that. But I think he also probably had some caveats as well, where he was giving up things that maybe he didn't necessarily want to. And so I think there needed to be a bit of a healthier dialogue there in terms of communicating what you're willing to sacrifice or give up and what you're not, and seeing if you can make that work communally within your relationship. But I feel like when she eventually got to that point, Rory was explicit enough in what she was hoping for from Logan, and she was unwilling to let a significant amount of time go by before her expectations or her desires were acknowledged and met. And so I think she expected Logan to embrace those a little bit better, because that's how he was going to get the girl and keep Rory in his life. And again, he does well enough with it. He is receptive to her wanting a more closed relationship, but it just was not always his style. And so I think he had a really difficult time adhering to it and even acknowledging to it, even when Rory is continuing to say, I'm hopeful for XYZ, this, that, and the other thing. Can you meet me halfway, or just 60-40 something? And I think Logan probably could have done a little bit better in terms of giving Rory what she wanted. Not that, like, from a genderist perspective, that a guy needs to cave to a girlfriend's desires, nor should anybody do that within a relationship. But the dialogue just wasn't there. And I think there needed to be a little bit stronger emphasis on that in terms of how you're going to make this relationship work, how you're going to get the girl, but also from Rory's perspective, how you're going to keep the guy.
I mean, I kind of disagree with that, because Rory's fairly explicit with him when she goes to him in But I'm a Gilmore, and she says, look, I can't do the casual thing. I thought I could, but I can't. And so we should just be friends. And then he takes that to be like, is this an ultimatum? And she's like, no, like, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying that, like, I don't want to see you casually in that way anymore. And then he commits, and there's no trouble until he believes they're broken up. And we've had a whole conversation about that and whether or not it's cheating. But when they're together, they are together. He doesn't seem to have much of a problem with straying outside the bounds of whatever she's asking him for. First, she signs up for an open casual relationship. She doesn't put any parameters on that. She just says, like, yeah, open relationship, no strings. And then when he decides to commit, he commits until their first really big fight leads him to believe they're broken up and they haven't spoken to each other in weeks. And it's a bad miscommunication. And we've had a whole discussion about that in our cheating episode. But, like, that's the only time that there's any, like, slippage in his commitment to her whatsoever. And so, I don't see any 60-40. It was very much like, either we are casual or we are together. And Rory didn't even make that ultimatum a thing. It was Logan who was like, well, I don't want to stop seeing you. And if it takes not seeing other women to stay with you, then I'm going to do that. So
fair. I guess I just think that it also could have happened sooner than it did.
It was only a couple months. Well, like weeks, really. Like 6-8 weeks, something like that. I don't know. I had a whole timeline of it. Again, go see our cheating episode, because I think that's all in there. But what's your next one?
Look what you made me do.
Me too.
Look what you made me do.
This is a departure from our relationship one, at least in my books. For me, this was about Mitchum.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I got smarter. I got harder in the nick of time. Honey, I rose up from the dead. I do it all the time. I got a list of names, and yours is in red underline. I check it once, then I check it twice. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you just made me ooh. Yeah, great song. Like, in between our recording sessions, I was watching the Eras tour, and I ended at the very end of Don't Blame Me, and so the song was just about to come on when I was like, oh man, we got to get back to it. But yeah, this is a fun one. It makes me...
Sorry, go ahead.
It makes me think of, like, look what Mitchum made her do. Like, you made me do something super drastic because, like, you were an asshole. I had to wise up. I had to get smarter. I had to get a tougher skin to be able to deal with this. And it's sort of like a thank you, almost. Like, there's more songs later in her discography where she's a little more accepting of the situation that gave us this song as well. This one's a little bit more, like, vindictive, but, she eventually makes her peace with it and is like, thanks. But the world moves on, another day, another drama, but not for me. All I think about is karma. And then the world moves on, but one thing's for sure. Maybe I got mine, but you'll all get yours. And this is kind of just how she feels about the Huntsbergers, I think.
I mean, that was pretty much my next thought, so thank you for stealing that.
Anytime.
I'll just echo it. you know, for Mitchum, things are moving ahead. You know, I tell Rory she doesn't got it. You know, if she wants to get stuck mulling over that and letting that ground her, that's on her, but I'm going to move on with my career. For Rory, I think she would have benefited from taking that with a grain of salt and maybe just like, I understand it stings, it's going to hurt to heal that, but the world moves on. And so, not that you're just wishing ill things on Mitch Huntsberger, although I can understand if you had some not so great thoughts at that moment in time. But pick yourself up and keep going. And it just makes me think like, oh, you know, old Rory can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's dead.
Because she's dead.
Like, keep going. You know, Mitchum's words are not the end all be all. It's one asshole who's just made you feel bad and kind of lowered you into the dirt in terms of constructive criticism. We have an entire episode planned where we'll talk about whether or not we think he was right or wrong in what he says. But you've got to pick yourself up and keep going and just let it be Rory 2.0 and just, yeah, you're hurt in that moment. But, you know, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again.
Yeah.
Brush yourself off and try again.
Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, try all over again. Yeah. I made that reference in our last episode that we recorded too, which you'll have seen by now. It plays at the end of the spring episode of The Revival. That's the one. Yeah, and the last kind of quote that I've highlighted for this one is, I don't like your kingdom keys. They once belonged to me. And that makes me think of Rory sort of feeling like she rules the kingdom, if you will. Finally, someone comes in who can tell her what's what. And it's like, I don't like that you control this thing that has very much been like mine for many, many years. This identity that I hold as a great journalist. And now you're coming in and saying from on high that I don't have what it takes. And like, who gave you the keys to the kingdom? Like, this was supposed to be my domain. And obviously that's a bit delulu, but that's Rory for you.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. What was your next one?
Long story short, but I only have like a couple lines about it.
Okay.
What was your next one?
Yeah, that was a skip for me, but I think we're on par with the next one after that. So
fair enough. This one was just sort of like it made me think of Rory in early season 6. And I fell from the pedestal right down the rabbit hole. Long story short, it was a bad time. Pushed from the precipice, climbed right back up the cliff. Long story short, I survived. Long story short, it was a bad time. Long story short, I survived. So, yeah, I just thought it was because we talk so much about her pedestal and how she had to be thrown right off of it by Mitchum in season 5. And she does go down a bit of a rabbit hole, and it wasn't a great time for her. But she does climb back up. She survives, and she comes out stronger for it. So I didn't have a ton on that one. It was just sort of like those few stanzas that got me.
Fair enough. My next one after that is Come Back, Be Here.
Me too.
I'll start off again with some lyrics. One last kiss, then catch your flight. I told myself don't get attached. And this is when the feeling sinks in. I don't want to miss you like this. Come back, be here.
Mm-hmm.
And Rory and Logan, you know, especially as Logan graduates, as Rory heads towards graduation, they're starting to live separate lives, even though they're still together. You know, their career paths are changing. Rory is still in school. Logan is having to travel more for work. You know, he's having to go overseas. He's having to go out to the West Coast to California. He's having to go to New York for business meetings. So they're not always able to be there and be together 24/7. And I think that's probably a little bit harder for Rory than it is for Logan at that point in time. But I think that's where she's contending with, you know, how attached do I really want to get here? Yes, I know I love and care for Logan, and those feelings are there and they're present. Do I want them really to sink into the ground even further and have those roots established? Or should I kind of just keep the walls up a little bit And I think at the end of the day, in her mind, it's like, no, I love you so much. I'm willing to kind of just like lower the drawbridge a little bit. Just come back and be here with me more than you currently are, because that's what I need and want from you.
Yeah, this is very much Partings and the Long Morrow vibes. I can't help but wish you took me with you. I guess you're in London today, and I don't want to need you this way. Come back, be here. This falling in love in the cruelest way. This is falling for you, and you are worlds away. In New York, be here. But you're in London, and I break down because it's not fair that you're not around. It's like, and the fact that it's even New York and London, which are exactly, it's like he starts out in London and then moves to New York. It's so perfect, and it just speaks to that long distance relationship struggle that I know all too well.
Yeah, and I love the line too. Taxi cabs and busy streets that never took you back home. Like, you're so on the road, and I can understand that that's a responsibility, but I just need you to be here. But you're in this city, that city. At the end of the day, you're anywhere but here, which is where I need you to be. So just come back and be here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What's your next song?
Illicit Affairs.
Oh, we're not there yet for me.
So
First
go
up,
ahead.
I just have like one quick thing in False God that I thought felt like Rory and Logan. We were stupid to jump in the ocean separating us. Again, with the Connecticut to London of it all. Staring out the window like I'm not your favorite town. I'm New York City. I still do it for you, babe. They all warned us about times like this. They say the road gets hard and you get lost when you're led by blind faith. It feels like it's a bit of a continuation of Come Back, Be Here, and has that same sort of like, there's a sexiness and attention to the song as well that's like I want to be where you are, and like I'm your hometown. Kind of calls back to Exile a little bit with the idea of, you know, a town as an identity, a town as like a person. New York is a person, right? I still do it for you, and I'm New York City. Like, I represent something to you about wherever you are in the world.
New York is a person.
Yeah.
Lauren Graham has confirmed this, so
exactly.
We don't need to say anymore.
And then this is where I put Champagne Problems.
Okay. Well, sounds like you had a lot more thoughts about it than I did, so.
I do. So yeah, the False God and the Come Back, Be Here is all about that sort of long distance period that they had. But obviously he moves back. And by the end of season 7, they are very much serious. And again, spoilers, we know that he proposes in the second to last episode of the series. And correct me if I'm wrong. See, I don't want to believe this for some reason. Part of me wants to believe it, and the other part of me doesn't want to believe it. But Taylor Nation itself, quote unquote, confirmed. I don't know how serious I'm to take this, but confirmed that this song is about Rory and Logan. But as we know, Folklore and Evermore may not be as fictional as Taylor once led us to believe. So I'm also like, is that really true? Or was she just looking for an excuse? Was she truly in a Gilmore Girls rabbit hole and was like, I need to write a song about how emotionally devastated I am by the fact that Rory said no to Logan? Or is there something else at play? I don't know. I don't know how to take it. I don't know if that was like a forged tweet. Like, you can Photoshop anything these days. So don't just take it with a grain of salt, people. But like, apparently the song is about that.
I don't know, but Taylor, if you're watching, and we know that you are because you're so not busy these days, drop us a comment and give us our answer, or just shoot us an email, you know, or even just come on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll settle this debate.
About it. We'll talk about it with you. Yeah,
we're so happy to have a conversation and be enlightened. Okay. Yeah. But yeah. So, because I dropped your hand while dancing, left you out there standing, crestfallen on the landing, Champagne Problems. Like, she abruptly cut things off with him. They were in the middle of something, and she dropped it. They just had a conversation about factoring each other in, and suddenly she can't commit. And he was taken aback. Crestfallen basically means sad or disappointed. But the other thing that you could come away with from that is like crest. Like, I was thinking of his apartment in New York, and he's got this sort of like shield, like a coat of arms almost, a metal one hanging on the wall in his studio apartment. And that's like a heraldic crest. Crest, fallen. A crest is like, your family coat of arms. It's like he wanted to bring her into the family, but like she dropped the mantle, literally.
Mm-hmm.
She left him hanging during a celebratory event, her own graduation. Your mom's ring in your pocket, my picture in your wallet, your heart was glass, I dropped it, champagne problems. Glass is delicate. It's not something that you can easily put back together. Like, this is a permanent break. And breaking glass doesn't just hurt one person. Like, it can shatter and cut a number of people. And so, like, maybe Logan and Rory aren't the only ones hurt by this situation. It's a mess that needs to be cleaned up now. It's a beautiful moment, and everything comes crashing down and shatters unexpectedly. You told your family for a reason. You couldn't keep it in. Your sister splashed out on the bottle. Now no one's celebrating. Dom Perignon, you brought it. No crowd of friends applauded. Your hometown skeptics called it champagne problems. And so, obviously they celebrated Honor and Josh, and they weren't as thrilled about Rory and Logan. But, after all of this time, it's like, Honor is invested in this relationship. She probably would have bought a bottle of Dom if she knew that Logan was proposing to Rory. And, that's a very expensive champagne. Apparently it's about $185 US a bottle. And it's also a very interesting choice because it's apparently the official beverage of the royal wedding, which doesn't shock me, frankly. But it's not a drink that you just buy. Most people don't just have Dom sitting around. It's something purchased with intent to celebrate. Mm-hmm. And now she's poo-pooed this. She's screwed up the grand plans, right? And it's a expectations versus reality not matching up kind of moment. You had a speech, you're speechless, love slipped beyond your reaches, and I couldn't give a reason, champagne problems. You did have a whole speech. And it's, proposing to someone is not something you do unless you're relatively sure you're going to get a yes. And that's why he was speechless. He was like, excuse me, what? I thought we were factoring each other in. But even she can't really give a cogent reason. In the next episode, when she turns him down, she's like, or not even, it's not the next episode, it's later in the same episode, but the reason she gives is so counter to everything she's been saying so far about her future and about what she wants and how she feels. And so it doesn't feel like a real reason. And I think that's part of the reason that Logan was like, yeah, either we move forward or like, I don't want to move backwards. So it's this or it's nothing. Your Midas touch on the Chevy door goes back to the whole gold rush thing. Midas was a king who everything he touched turned to gold, and you could take that one of two ways. Either it's someone who makes everything better by their acts, or it's someone who is able to be consumed by greed, either like it's got both connotations where it's either someone who turns things into more valuable things, or it's someone who makes something shiny but hollow. Let's put it that way. This dorm was once a madhouse. I made a joke. Well, it's made for me. They don't really live. She lives in a dorm. This dorm was once a madhouse. That feels right. However green our group of friends, don't think we'll say that word again. Our group of friends. Don't think we'll say our again. 1 for the money, 2 for the show. I never was ready, so I watched you go. That's both a like a children's nursery rhyme, but it's also a line from Blue Suede Shoes by Elvis. Blue shoes, blue feet, cold feet. Taylor, MFN Swift.
Damn, I had never. Wow. Yep.
Yeah. Don't step on my blue suede shoes. Sometimes you just don't know the answer till someone's on their knees and asks you. I think that feels very much like her, where it's like, she thought she wanted all of this, but when the question was finally posed, she had a hesitation and she wasn't sure the answer. Till someone's on their knees and asks you. Knee is proposal. Knees is begging. That's an interesting one. Her word choice is just next level. Like, oh God. Anyway.
This is why we need to talk to her.
Yeah, exactly. And then here's the one where I was like, okay, here come the expletives, everybody. Earmuffs if you don't like swearing, because I'm about to let loose on this one. She would have made such a lovely bride. What a shame she's fucked in the head. Like, what a line. My God. So good. And it feels so true for Rory. I feel like I could hear Emily saying she would have made such a lovely bride. But yeah, she is a little not thinking straight on this one, because it's clear that her perception of the whole situation is maybe not in alignment with reality. Let's put it that way. And she's focusing on the wrong things, and that's part of why she ends up hurting Logan the way she does. But the song kind of ends off with, "You'll find the real thing instead. She'll patch up your tapestry that I shred." And a tapestry is an interesting one too, because tapestries are, large woven scenes of life, and they often feature heraldry as well. But tapestries, like the tapestries of our lives, are woven by the fates in Greek mythology. And it once again comes back to the idea of fate. Like, you'll find someone who's fated for you. But those of us who know anything about Amy Sherman Palladino know that Rory and Logan are fated in a certain way. So I find that one interesting. And it sort of repeats some of the lines, but it's like, she'll hold your hand while dancing, never leave you standing, cross-fallen on the landing. Your mom's ring in your pocket, her picture in your wallet. You won't remember all of my champagne problems. So it's, it's such an interesting one because it has so many meanings. Like, champagne problems is like, we were celebrating and now everything has fallen apart. But it's also sort of like first world problems, a dismissal of the emotional state of characters who are wealthy, because like, what do they have to be upset about? They have Dom and they have money and youth and, whatever. So there's multiple ways you could look at this one. And either way, it works for Rory and Logan.
Indeed it does. I just honestly never had as much thoughts about that song as you did in terms of how it correlates. But I will admit, I was always intrigued by how there are rumors out there that the Champagne Problem song specifically was written so much about. Yes.
Champagne problems.
Tip it, bitch.
You know it. I'll use any excuse to drink champagne. I do love it. Every time we get 100 subscribers, I pop a bottle. So if you want to help me remain a dipsomaniac, in the words of Richard Gilmore. I'm not a dipsomaniac. It's fine. That was a joke. But yeah, obviously I'm wearing my champagne earrings because, I think of Rory and Taylor Swift and I think champagne problems, because obviously, like you said, the rumors about this one are fairly widespread. So I love this one.
Yeah. The TGW gals do appropriately appreciate indulging in adult beverages from time to time. So we'd love to continue to celebrate with more champagne. I'll sweeten the pot. Every 100 subscribers that we get, we'll get a special elongated Vinny appearance, which is my cat's name, in any episode after that happens. So you will have what is in my mind the world's most handsome and sweetest cat come on the podcast to thank you for your support.
He is very handsome. Yeah. Very handsome. And very sweet.
Handsome boy.
Yeah. Long boy.
Yep. Are we good to move on to what is my next song?
Oh, you had illicit affairs. I had another one.
Well, I will say I had illicit affairs and one other that, like, my next two pretty much go hand in hand in terms of being back to back. Like, I can almost just talk about them, both of them at the same time.
Right.
So to say. But
I threw another one in here, and it kind of feels like the follow-on from Champagne Problems. And we talked about this song in our Lorelai episode, and that's Midnight Rain. Because obviously everybody has discussed the parallels between Logan and Christopher, and I think this song is no different. We analyze it from the Lorelai and Christopher perspective early on for them when they're still teenagers, and there's still that pressure for them to get married and have a family. And Lorelai's like, the life I gave away, right? And so I feel like it's such a full circle moment to also put it on Rory's list at this point where, you know, Logan offers her the same thing. Let's get married. Let's start a family. And there's still this mismatch in their desired lifestyles. You know, he wanted it comfortable. I wanted that pain. She wanted the challenge, the mystery, the struggle like her mom. The uncertainty of her future wasn't as scary to her anymore. He wanted a bride. She was making her own name. You know, she wanted her independence. She didn't want the traditional 1950s shit that the Huntsbergers wanted from her. Her dreams were taking her in another direction. And it changed everything when she made this choice, right? And, you know, we talked about the pageant queens and big pretenders line. It's very much like the being stuck in Stars Hollow of it all. She feels hemmed in by the idea of the white picket fence life, jumping off things in the ocean. He's very much a risk taker like Christopher. He was Sunshine, I was Midnight Rain. Once again, feels like them. Logan is blonde and sunny and moving to California, and she's the Debbie Downer who's like, no, I don't think I will. Mm. It came like a postcard, picture perfect, shiny family, holiday peppermint candy, but for him it's every day. It's very much the same as the Lorelai and Christopher, this flash of potential, the snapshot of the perfect life that's offered up on a silver platter that she doesn't want to take. All the love we unravel in the life I gave away. She pulled apart their relationship. The love came undone. She made the decision. She could see the end before it began. She took the path of mystery. She gave away the life of comfort and stability with a wealthy man in order to pursue her own dreams. And he never thinks of me except when I'm on TV or, you know, when I'm featured in the New Yorker.
Wrapped in plastic.
One of my favorite lines from the show. The revival, that is.
No, I agree. And we've talked about it before, so we don't need to, you know, go into it too much here. I stand by Rory's decision. I mean, she was, you know, of a career mindset. She had other goals and things in life that she wanted to pursue. She obviously was not at the point yet of being ready for marriage. So if her response was no, I mean, Logan is, we've talked about it, like, you know, his response is, well, you know, if it's a no, then I guess I need to walk away from this relationship. I've had thoughts about that as well. But it was well within Rory's rights to say no because XYZ, I have other things I want to pursue. I'm not ready or willing to step into this marriage yet. And Logan's response was also, as much as I have thoughts about it, his response is also his own to make. So that's, you know, free will and autonomy. And these two people exercised it and they had every right to do so.
Yeah. I know we talked about it in our proposals episode. I have so many thoughts about that because I truly don't think Logan would have stopped her from pursuing her career. And she could have done any number of things to prevent getting pregnant. And they maybe didn't even have to get married right away. And she didn't say, like, I'm not ready to be married. She didn't say that. She just said, my life is open. And if I married you, it wouldn't be. Like, what? It's not a real thing. What are you talking about? Anyway, not the purpose of this. Go back
and watch that episode for those thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe we'll have to have another episode where we revisit our feelings on it and like have a whole deep dive on it because, like I said, I got thoughts. But what's your next song?
So
Illicit Affairs, right?
Was Illicit Affairs, which really ties into the one that's going to follow, but we'll just talk about that one first. You know, this relationship is now dissolving as we head towards the end of this series. There's a marriage proposal that gets turned down. There are breaks that are had within relationships. While Rory, we were on a break. Logan, sleeps around with some other girls. Obviously, Rory has some contentions with that because she thought that wouldn't be the case. Obviously a huge miscommunication there, but I love this song for what it is within the scope of the Taylor Swift universe, because I think it's just, again, one of the most like devastating, on par with like Exile songs that she's written. And I'll just start out by saying, like, we have great lines like, illicit affairs, quote unquote. It's born from just one single glance, but it dies and it dies and it dies a million little times. I'll start off by reemphasizing how much I love the repetitiveness, where she is saying that those affairs just have this relationship, and what two people can have together, it dies, it dies, it dies. There's no coming back from it most of the time. Obviously I have heard of in no instances where, like, infidelity and there's infidelity and cheating, couples can work through it and they stay together. But more often than not, I feel like it's just it's such a nail in a coffin to relationships. And I think that's what she's trying to express here. But I think it also ties into how Logan's infidelity during that break really could have potentially been the nail in the coffin for Rory and Logan trying to make anything continue to work down the line, even in the revival when they meet back up again. It could have just been, you cheated on me. I'm not at a point where I can forgive that, nor do I want to. And everything just completely comes to like a full stop.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Make sure nobody sees you leave, hood over your head, keep your eyes down, tell your friends you're out for a run. Or tell your mom you're staying with Dee Dee. Just the whole hiding it. In the earlier seasons, she was the one who felt like she had been cheated on, whereas here she is very clearly the perpetrator. Her and Logan. In that instance, she thought it was just him. In this instance, she is very much an active participant in helping him cheat on someone else. And there's a shame that she feels around that. And it's not the first time that she has felt this. And she has to hide it because it's not right. It's not acceptable. So this song has a lot of internal conflict in it, which is great. It sort of shows the intense emotion that can come along with an affair, but also the downside of it. It's the dwindling mercurial high that only worked the first few hundred times. But there's the dark side of it. It started in beautiful rooms and ends with meetings in parking lots. That very much makes me feel like him saying, oh, we'll get you a room at your favorite place this time. And she's like, why do I have to stay at a hotel? Oh, Odette has moved in, right? It makes me think of that, where it's like, it starts out sexy and clandestine, which is a word that she uses in this song, which is a great word. Like, nice choice. And it turns into this thing where it's like, okay, now we like truly have to go behind someone's back and like find a way to make this happen in a quick and dirty kind of way to get our hits. And it starts to become not as sexy anymore. It starts to get to that place where they lie and they lie and they lie a million little times. Mm-hmm. And you want to scream, don't call me Ace. Don't call me Vicky. Look at this idiotic fool that you made me. You know damn well for you I would ruin myself a million little times.
Yeah.
This is
that was the line I had as well. And just along with that, like right in the same sentence, saying like, you showed me colors I can't see with anyone else. Mm-hmm. I think to an extent within Rory and Logan's relationship, that's true. I think they bring out something in one another that no one else can bring out within them. And I think that's why sometimes the infidelity and the fact that they're not always faithful to one another hurts more, because it's probably the person that, again, brings out those things in you that nobody else can, that you're close to in a way that you're not with like anyone else. I can understand why it makes the pain that much more real and present when it's your person that's doing that to you.
Yeah. Agreed. Do you have more on this one?
No, my next one pretty much follows up on just a lot of these thoughts as well, but it's The One.
Ah, yes. I had this in a different spot, but it also made my list. I freaking love this song.
This is, again, I can't say that it's my all-time favorite. I'd be hard pressed to pick one, like you've indicated. But this is one of my personal top tier T-Swiss songs. I think it's just brilliant in so many different ways.
It could have been the one. If y'all like the Taylor Swift stuff, maybe we should do just an entire episode on our feelings about Taylor Swift more generally, but you have to like it for us to want to do that, maybe.
You have to let us know that you want us to do that.
Yeah. If it's going to be popular, maybe we'll just have an actual conversation about Taylor. Divorced from Gilmore Girls is like a special episode, because I feel like there are so many things we could say about her. But anyway, I mean, I'm doing good. I'm on some new shit.
Yeah, we would not hate talking about the Kelsey fam either.
Yeah.
To an extent.
Football is coming, as you can tell from Laura's getup.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. Bills Mafia.
Bills Mafia.
Jason, if you want to come tailgating in Buffalo again, you know who to call.
We have a cow that, has udders, and you can actually get shots from. She's known as Boozy Bessie. Come hang out.
We will introduce you formally to Boozy Bessie, and you will have a good time. Yep. And Travis, I mean, if you're happen to be free that day, Taylor, everybody's invited. Meet us in Buffalo for Bill's tailgating. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's wild, but it's.
But that's what makes it great.
Anyhow, echoing what you said, yeah, Rory's doing good. I'm on some new shit. Been saying yes instead of no. Rory didn't do it perfectly, but I think obviously ending any sort of relationship is going to be hard. There's going to be a healing period, a grieving process that you have to go through. But eventually it's healthy and it's right to hit that point where you just need to be able to move on and say, like, yes, like I'm doing better now than I was in the immediate aftermath of this breakup. Yeah, just again, like, I'm doing good, I'm on some new shit. And I think specifically with Rory and Logan's relationship and with it ending, it was a really beautiful and wonderful relationship for when it was ongoing and when it lasted. That pains me to say a little bit.
We're pulling you to the side. You know it's happening. Just give into it.
It's not happening, because I can say that there were good parts of any one of Rory's relationships, but it doesn't mean that the guy is endgame, and I'm still not team Logan. So just F off. The greatest films of all time were never made. I feel like their relationship was potentially like a really wonderful film. It's appealing to watch. It makes people happy. It makes all the Team Logan stands happy. But it doesn't mean that from start to finish it was going to work out and that film was going to be something that was put into production and released to the masses. And it wasn't, because it failed. Not everything goes the distance. And I feel like there's a parallel to be drawn there as well.
That still means that there's a script and maybe a screen test out there somewhere that could be dug up from the archives.
It's not going to finally happen. Made.
I need it to happen, okay?
Not going to happen.
We were something, don't you think so? Roaring 20s, tossing pennies in the pool. And if my wishes came true, it would have been you. In my defense, I have none for never leaving well enough alone, but it would have been fun if you would have been the one. To me, that just speaks to the whole dynamic of like roaring 20s, we were wild, we were extravagant, we were something, don't you think so? And if my wishes came true, it would have been you. This whole song is a lamentation on like thinking back to that person who you just have this wild chemistry with, and it's like, oh man, how great would that have been? And so to me, that speaks to Rory's regrets that she let this slip, you know? If one thing had been different, would everything be different today? In my defense, I have none for digging up the grave another time, you know? She really does. Like, she's the one who killed that relationship, and she's the one who digs it back up. And so it's her fault. In her defense, she has none. So.
No, she doesn't. And I think there was more than one thing that needed to have been different within their relationship for it to have worked out. It wasn't just one moment or one decision or one betrayal within their relationship that led to where they were, even by the end of the revival. I think there were a number of things that went wrong. And if we ever get Revival 2.0, I'd love to see if those things course correct themselves, especially with the birth of their daughter, if they're willing to make something work for the sake of their kid now. But I feel like that would still be an uphill battle for the both of them, as much as they genuinely care for one another.
I feel like it's mostly an uphill battle from the sense of external factors, though. I don't think it has anything to do with how much they care about each other or the love they share. But it's the societal expectation, especially on Logan, and the awkwardness that will ensue from having to tell his family to F off and to tell Odette goodbye. Because, you know, it would be hard to disappoint her, break her heart maybe, and tell her what's really going on. And it wouldn't be easy. It's like the path of least resistance to just marry her and follow through on the dynastic plan. But I think he's different from Chris in the sense that, like, he's ready to step up in a way that Chris wasn't. Like, Chris was ready to do it, or like he was willing to do it. That doesn't mean he was ready to do it. Whereas I think Logan might actually be ready to do it. They're at a very different place in their lives than Lorelai and Christopher were at. And so we've been over this as well. I don't think that this is a one-to-one parallel. And so just because Christopher is not Lorelai's endgame doesn't mean that Logan couldn't be Rory's, and that Logan couldn't step up and be accepted as the husband and the father to the child. Because I think that was maybe a regret of Lorelai's. I mean, I know Lorelai doesn't really want to tell Rory what to do, but I almost feel like if I were Lorelai, I'd be like, this is the guy that you just can't seem to quit, and there must be a reason for that. You need to interrogate that a little bit deeper and not just push him away because you think you have to, or because you think the situation is too difficult. Like, you have to figure out like what it is you actually want and what you think is going to be the best for your daughter. And that may not be doing what I did. You know, that's how you break a generational cycle instead of just perpetuating one, Amy.
Yeah, for reasons I'm not going to attempt to repeat that phrase, but I concur with the sentiment.
Yeah, we might go more into detail about that further in some future episode, we'll see. But again, I have some very strong feelings about the desire for this repetition to continue to take place. And I would really like to see Logan be like, no, F this. I'm moving away from London. I'm leaving Odette. My family can deal with it. You know, I'm going to do what's best for me and what's best for my kid. And I'm going to follow my heart because Rory is the one who has it.
Revival 2.0, and we'll see.
Yes, please. I need it.
I feel like our next song, which is one of the, which is like the final one pretty much that I had for this particular part 2, is the same one as yours.
Is it set in a particular locale?
It is.
Okay. I have, I think, just a couple more quickies. I really want to end on that one, and that's why I want to put these in now, even though it's not necessarily like super linear. But I just had a couple that I thought were interesting in terms of like dealing with Rory in the revival a little more generally, and her floundering in life. And they're like, well, one of the ones that's a little more tied to the whole Logan and Odette situation is I Bet You Think About Me, which is the one featuring Chris Stapleton. Fast asleep in your city that's better than mine, and the girl in your bed has a fine pedigree. While I tried to fit in with your upper crust circles, yeah, they let me sit in back when we were in love. But now that we're done and it's over, I bet you couldn't believe when you realized I'm harder to forget than I was to leave, and I bet you think about me. You grew up in a silver spoon gated community, glamorous, shiny, bright Beverly Hills. I was raised on a farm. No, it wasn't a mansion, just living room dancing and kitchen table bills. That feels so Rory and Lorelai, the living room dancing and kitchen, and just that sort of like that jealousy, that pettiness sprinkled in there. The salt is sprinkled on that one. And then the other one I had that was sort of, or there's two more that are about her personal struggles and her career struggles. One is This Is Me Trying, or Taylor even says, if you watch the Long Pond sessions, in her explanation of this song, she says, I think there are a lot of mechanisms for us in our school days, in high school or college, to excel and be patted on the back for something. And then I think a lot of people get out of school and there are less abilities for them to get gold stars. And then you have to make all of these decisions. You have to pave your own way. There's no set class course you can take. And I think a lot of people feel really swept up in that. And when I was watching Long Pond and I heard that, I was like, ding, 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 Rory Gilmore. Like, oh my God. I've been having a hard time adjusting. I had the shiniest wheels, now they're rusting. She had a hard time adjusting to the work world, where doing just what you're told isn't good enough. And we learned that in season 5. She had the shiny halo. She was going places, but now her potential has been corroded and she feels damaged. I want you to know that this is me trying. This is her doing her best. They told me all of my cages were mental, so I got wasted like all my potential. That is such a good line. Such a good line. You know, She feels like she's wasting her talents. She could have been a contender. You know?
You could have been a contender.
And instead she's drinking scotch at lunch with Jess, you know? I was so ahead of the curve became a sphere. And it, you know, she was on top of the bell curve. She was way up here. But now she's going around in circles. She's stuck in a loop. There's a lot of repetition in the song, and it reinforces that feeling of like, I am struggling towards something, but I'm just spinning my wheels. Fell behind my classmates, and I ended up here, pouring out my heart to a stranger, but I didn't pour the whiskey. Well, Rory did, but yeah. Oh, that's a good line too. It's hard to be anywhere these days when all I want is you. You're a flashback in a film reel on the one screen in my town. It's like life is on repeat. It's a small town with the one movie theater, and the past keeps showing up and she can't get out of it.
That's a good take. Yeah.
And then my last one that's sort of on the topic of Rory and her struggles is Castles Crumbling. Once I had an empire in a golden age. I was held up so high, I used to be great. They used to cheer when they saw my face. Now I fear I have fallen from grace. And I feel like my castle's crumbling down, and I watch all my bridges burn to the ground. Once I was the great hope for a dynasty. Crowds would hang on my words, and they trusted me. Power went to my head, and I couldn't stop. Ones I loved tried to help, so I ran them off. Now they're screaming at the palace front gates. Used to chant my name. Now they're screaming that they hate me. Yeah. Her whole, it goes to the kingdom keys, the king of my heart, the town in exile. Just this idea of like, this is my fortress. This is my strength. This is my home. And it's falling apart. And I used to be so beloved, but now I'm feeling attacked. Obviously, people aren't like screaming that they hate her, but there's all this pressure coming from the outside, and people are screaming at her to do more, do better, be different. And it's all totally getting to her head. It feels like this big dynasty that rests on her shoulders is crumbling down around her because she can't afford underwear. She used to be so powerful and so beloved and revered, and now her kingdom is in ruins.
Yeah. Excellent point. I mean, I feel like just the entirety of like just the crumbling nature of relationships can really factor into that as well. So I like the kind of correlations that you drew there.
Thank you. All right, and now we have our collective last song. So take us home. Play me home, baby.
Murray. Oh, that's like we need to do. This is just randomly popped into my mind. We need to do a character study on Rory and Babette one day.
Yeah, that's probably true. I wish there was more of them.
It's us. I can talk about Rory and Babette for an episode. Yeah. Trust me.
Maybe we could throw in a little like fanfic or something just to like fill in the gaps of what we wish we had on Babette and Rory too.
Our furniture is made for like 3 feet tall people. It's fine.
Yeah, I would love Babette's house. I'd be like, yes, this is like the perfect size for me. Thank you. Finally, counters I can comfortably work at.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. I think that it's going to have to be a thing. But we're going to take us home with So Long London. This song to me is obviously just about the fact that one person within a relationship, as Taylor is writing it, is kind of just carrying the weight of that relationship and can no longer afford to do so because it's breaking their back, so to say. And so for their own well-being, they need to two graves. This is a line from the song, 2 graves, 1 gun. I'll find someone, you'll find someone. Like, but just effectively saying like, I've carried the weight of this. What have I seen you contribute or participate or put into this relationship? Nothing, if not enough. And I can't continue to do this anymore because it is breaking me. My spine split from carrying us up the hill. So we need to go our separate ways here because it will kill me if it hasn't already, if I continue down this path. And I have more, obviously lines and thoughts from this, but I wanted this to be a back and forth because I feel like we both have a lot to say about it. But it really is just the tragedy of a relationship faltering and floundering, but not because 2 people are deciding to amicably split or the chemistry is not there anymore. I think this was just more of a tragedy that one person put in so much work and effort and the other person didn't, and it ruined it for the both of them.
I don't even know if it was about work or effort. I think it was about, I can't even say that it was about expectation because they both knew what this was. This was Vegas, If Rory was splitting her spine from carrying them up the hill, that was something she chose to do on her own because she knew that this wasn't a relationship. This was an affair. This was a situationship. It was like, I'm in London, let's get down. She knew that he had a fiance, and yet she chose to engage in this. And so she doesn't really have a leg to stand on. If she feels like she's carrying the weight of the rift, it's because she created the rift. She split from him in the first place. He was perfectly pulling his weight in that relationship. And like, if not more than pulling his weight in that relationship. And she tossed him away like used garbage. And now she has this attachment to him that she can't let go of. And he's got a life and a partner and expectations on him. And it's affecting her in such a way. And I mean, like, I'm kind of with you that it does feel one-sided, but it's because it's about Rory's expectations, not about what Logan owes her, because he doesn't really owe her anything except operating within the bounds of their agreement, which is Vegas. When she's there, she's there, and when she's not, she's not. He's not required to do any emotional labor in this affair unless they've agreed that there's more to this than that. So that's a whole thing. But there are other parts of this song that remind me of their earlier relationship. Like, I didn't opt in to be your odd man out. Like she never quite fit into his world. And now she's still the odd one out because there's somebody else. I founded the club she's heard great things about. You know, Rory was one of the ones who kind of got Logan on the straight and narrow and made him into the person he is today, who can commit and is about to commit. And yeah.
And I mean, early on, she definitely gave him not like I hate using the word ultimatum, but like, you were right that she was very explicit in, I don't want this to be an open relationship. I want more exclusivity. In the revival, I understand that she was obviously aware that Odette was there living with him, that it was not like a closeted situation so much in the sense that it's just the two of them anymore. And I'm not saying it's right either, because I don't think that it is. But I feel like maybe Rory showing up to London as much as she did was just kind of her thinking, like, maybe if I continue to make myself regularly present in Logan's life, and like I'm there and he can actually see me, he'll kind of figure out what he's missing and what he's giving up and choose to walk away from Odette. And I'm not saying that that would be right. I'm not condoning that aspect of things in terms of just drop Odette and like abandon her in the middle of the night without some sort of conversation or like something there. But like, I feel like maybe she was just showing up to try and, again, be like, this is what you can have full time.
Yeah, I mean, I am for him leaving Odette, not without a conversation. Like, I do think that there should be an actual, like,
like again,
proper
like,
breakup. But I am for him leaving her, as stated in our in a previous episode. I think it was maybe like the family values episode, where I was just like, this is messed up that his family is the one organizing for this for him and forcing this on him when it's clear that it's not what he wants. So I'm like, no, yes, leave her.
I agree that Odette is not the right person for him. I'm not saying that like you should not break up with her. I'm just saying don't let it be pack my bags in the middle of the night and walk out, and Odette wakes up for breakfast and you're just never there anymore for the rest of her life. Like, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, no, I don't think he would. I hope not. Yeah. Yeah. Another line that sticks out to me in this one is, I'm pissed off you let me give you all that youth for free. And it makes me think of how, we're both big Game of Thrones fans. And it's usually like, you want a young wife so that she can bear you children, which Rory does for Logan. She gave him a child for free. Youth for free, child for free.
Free.
You get a kid and you get a kid. Everybody gets a kid.
Can I pass?
Yes.
Right now?
Yes, you can, because we live in the era of contraception that works. And in some places, other things that y'all should have. I'm just going to leave it at that.
We're not going to go there right now.
Y'all should have unfettered access because it's a medical choice. Anyway, yeah. For so long, London, stitches undone, 2 graves, 1 gun. The stitches undone part of that is like, they spent all these years apart healing and becoming different people and sort of moving on from this. But that has come undone now in the situation they find themselves in. They've opened those old wounds and found that, they've slipped back into this old comfort. And Rory has to be the one to be like, I have the ultimate capability to end this for the both of us, because I don't think this is helping either of us in the way that it's happening at the moment. And so she's the one who finally has to cut and run. And yeah, like I said earlier in response to you, like, it's not because he owes her anything. And like, obviously the song is about Joe Alwyn, the London boy. And this song is so sad because it's like, it feels like Taylor was the one who was constantly fighting to keep them together. And in Rory's case, that's not what she was doing. She was there's a line at the beginning, pulled him in tighter each time he was drifting away. And Logan was only drifting in the sense that he was slipping away from her. So it wasn't that he lost interest, but she was trying to to keep him close, to rope him in, as you were alluding to. And it's a very different situation than a 6-year relationship that is slipping away from someone who has, done everything and changed her life and moved across the ocean and, put certain aspects of herself on the shelf so that she could make this other person comfortable. And yet all he is depressed and morose and unhappy. Like, how much sad did you think I had? Stop trying to drill the safe. That's not to shade Joe Alwyn. Like, I know what it's like to deal with depression, and it can be a tough thing. And if there's a difference in desire or lifestyle or whatever in a relationship, that's something that happens. It doesn't mean he's like a bad guy or something. It just means that there was a fundamental chasm that couldn't be crossed for those two particular people. And Taylor felt like she was always the one who was like trying to jump it for him, as opposed to him always being able to reach out to her. But this is a very different situation for Logan and Rory. It's more like Rory escaping her problems to London all the time and trying to keep this old ex close because there's something comforting about that to her. He was someone who was with her in a time of not only turmoil, but also success, like she was really happy with him, even in moments of struggle. And I think she does regret saying no to him, because why would she go back if she didn't, I don't think she's some evil psychopath who just wants to hurt people and wreck homes. I think there is something unresolved in her that needs to go through this. But I also think that So Long London finishes out this playlist because it's her finally being like, we are ending this situation as it stands. It's not healthy for either of us. And we both have to like cut and run because I can't do this anymore. And the song goes into a lot more depth about, just the efforts and the attempts at holding things together, but there's nothing to hold together in this case. And so it's just Rory being like, I'm done. So long, London. This is the end of this chapter. It's an end of an era. I have to move forward. And maybe she can't cut and run as cleanly as she thought, but at least that was her attempt to do so. And so this is where I feel like the story ends for now until we get a revival 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. And the song mirrors exactly what you just said in terms of it's done for now. It says, for so long, London, had a good run, a moment of warm sun, but I'm not the one. And as it stands, as of the end of season 7, that is absolutely correct. They're parting ways. They're saying, like, we really just need to cut the cord on this for good, at least for right now. I'm not the one. We cannot continue to make this work. It's too hard and too devastating and too unhealthy for the both of us. But the caveat here is that for me, at least, but I'm not the one in terms of Rory and Logan's situation, but I'm not the one for now. And that's where when we get the revival coming back, we see them having the LDB night, reacquainting in more ways than one. Obviously the pregnancy, echoing what you said, that she's not going to be able to immediately just X Logan out of her life now because of this child that has now been conceived. So there's obviously always a chance that they'll make something work, that they'll get back together again. If we ever get Revival 2.0, we'll know for sure. But I think this is a really good song to close out the Rory and Logan chapter, because it really is just saying, like, the nail's in the coffin right now. There are 2 graves. We're in them. Our relationship is done. And it just needs to be, because right now we're not the ones for each other.
Yeah. Or, I mean, it closes the chapter of their affair, because that's not even really a relationship. It's just sort of this state of the world, if you will, that neither of them particularly seems to like. And I don't think it's So Long Logan so much as it is So Long London. And that's why I put it at the end, because London is a place that has caused a lot of strife for them. And I think if they're ever to be together again, Logan needs to leave London and move back to Connecticut. And so it's also part of me hoping like that he will say So Long London as well, and that will be a chapter in their life that is closed as they move forward as a family.
We'll have to see. I mean, jury's been out for 8 years.
Oh, God, you're right. That's depressing.
Yes, it is. Amy, Dan, please.
It's been too long.
Please. Stan, anybody, just write it.
I don't care how good Etoile is. Put it on the shelf and give me more Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, but I think that's a good place to close this out for this episode. Any final thoughts?
About a gajillion, but we don't have time. So, again, if you want another Taylor Swift episode that's sort of, on top of the regular stuff and it's just a weird special bonus episode, let us know, because we'll probably happy to oblige.
Yeah, we will. We just need there to be a demand or a request for it, and then we'll see. But we hope you've enjoyed this episode, whether you're a GG fan or a T-Swizz fan. We hope you have found some part of this enlightening. We already did part 1, going over Rory's early years with her relationships at Chilton, specifically with Dean and Jess. Go back and watch that. We also did an entire similar arc with Taylor's songs as they pertain to Lorelai and her relationships. All of that is on our channel. Go back and watch out those episodes. We think there's really good content there that you will enjoy. As for this episode, if you could just, as always, do those YouTube things for us, please like the video, subscribe to this channel, share it with your family and friends. Anyone who maybe is a Swiftie fan and just wants some parallels to be drawn for them that they never knew they needed. We're here for that as well. If you're still watching these episodes and you're like, I just need more Gigi in my life, how can I make that happen? Is there something that's going on in October that maybe would, suffice for that?
I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, there is a whole Gilmore Girls Fan Fest event happening in Guilford, Connecticut, October 18th to 20th.
Way. Tell me more. Hang on.
Yes, way.
Hang on.
Yes, way. It is a 3-day Gilmore Girls extravaganza of awesomeness. And it's going to have cast and crew and podcasters, fans, people that will become your friends. Awesome people. It's just an incredible, warm, welcoming community. If you've never been or you don't have someone to go with, do not fear. Everybody is so nice, and there are so many events that can introduce you to people. There are first-timers events. There are solo traveler events. So do not hesitate. And when I say that, I mean truly do not hesitate, because there are not many tickets left. We have spoken to Jenny, and she has kind of let us know that tickets are dwindling, and you do not want to miss out on this event, because it is truly spectacular. It is singular. If you've ever been to a con, ratchet it up 10 levels past that, because you just get to wander around a town in Connecticut that feels like Stars Hollow, and Max freaking Medina is walking down the street, and Caesar is, on the other side, and Bill from the Yale Daily News is also right there, and everybody is just having a great time. So this is not an event.
Janet's going to be there. She can wake you up for a 5 a.m. run if that's your thing.
Yeah, Joni from the Yale Daily News. Mitchum freaking Huntsberger is going to be there this year. You guys, if you want to give him a piece of your mind, politely, because he's actually Greg Henry. But, amazing people are going to be there.
How do I meet all of these people? How do I get a ticket?
You go to the link in our description box to the FanFest Society website, and you go buy a ticket there. There's also a schedule, a preliminary schedule is already up. There's a costume contest. There's karaoke. There's game panels. We're doing Gilmore's Against Humanity again. So definitely don't miss out on that. There's also a link to the Facebook planning group in there. So if you have questions, people are there to answer them. People who have been to every event ever, who are seasoned, we can answer your questions if you have any. And there are also people who, coordinate rides from the airport and roommates and that kind of stuff too. Other kind of planning things in there as well. So there's no shortage of information. If you're hesitant, don't even think about it. Just go to the links in the description, and all the information you need is there. Or come to us. We have all the knowledge. We are the oracles.
Yeah, but we hope you will join us for that weekend. We would love to see you there. Truly, it is not something to be missed out on.
I always go way too hard on the description of FanFest, but I'm so excited.
We don't love it. Can you tell? This does not mean anything to us, nor do we want to share in the joy. So
yeah, exactly. We're also doing a Yaleys panel this year, which is really exciting. So come watch us do stupid stuff on stage. It'll be fun.
No, but really consider attending that event. In the meanwhile, leading up to that event, if you want more GG content, go back and watch some of our older videos. We have a ton there for you to enjoy. If you have any thoughts on this episode or any of our previous ones, please feel free to always drop us a comment. Let us know your thoughts. Shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you. And again, subscribe to our channel. It'll give you alerts on when new content is being dropped, and we're grateful for that support anytime we can get it.
Exactly. So we hope that you enjoyed yourselves here this evening, and we hope we will also see you next Friday for dinner.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Ciao.